This is Angelo Pizzillo, manager of the oral history program of the Battleship New Jersey in Camden, New Jersey. Today is Saturday, September 9th, 2017. We are on board the Battleship New Jersey Naval Museum, and our interview guest is Rich Civita from Ecton, Maryland. Welcome home, Mr. Civita.
Thank you.
All right, so let's go ahead and start. Your current age, please?
52 years old.
And when did you enlist in the Navy?
End of 1982. Yeah, or beginning of 1983.
Okay,
My naval years were 83 to 87.
great. And what was your inspiration for joining the Navy?
My family were all Marines.
And then you joined the Navy instead?
I did.
Okay. Where did you go to boot camp?
I went to Great Lakes.
Great Lakes?
Great Lakes.
Any stories or anything stand out from boot camp?
I had an awesome time at boot camp. I know not a lot of people will say that, but we seem to have a real good company, a great set of company commanders, good healthy rivalry with our sister companies. We were actually part of a special grad group of 4 companies that graduated in Chicago during a parade. It was a good time. I mean, it was a good time. There was a lot of, like I said, healthy competition, and it was a good growing experience.
Any stories stand out? Any particular incidents that you find funny?
A couple of them. We had there was a gentleman in our company who was definitely afraid of needles. So when we were going through and getting our shots, they had a bio-sewing shot where, just you're standing there and they poke you with a straw in your butt and they put, you get your bio-sewing shot. Well, being the nice guys we were, we had a countdown for him. And right about the time we got to 1, he passed out. Which, it was just a good time going down. You could see him start to sweat and everything like that. So during the countdown, he was calling some nice names and everything like that. I also seem to remember that right after that, when we got back to our building, our company commanders closed up all the windows and everything like that. They kind of mashed us. And for anybody that doesn't know what that means, at that time it stood for make a sailor hurt. So we did PT for a couple of hours. And, it was one of those things where, we thought we did something wrong. Okay, and at the end we asked our company commanders, what was that all about? And he said, you'll see tomorrow. Because our sister company was over there, they were drinking sodas and hanging out, yelling, laughing at us and everything like that. So, long story short, we started walking down to the mess hall the next morning, and we were walking, and they were limping. Because apparently bio-sewing, like penicillin, if you don't get it to work out through the body, it would just tie up in a knot, like your butt cheek, and so I guess we had the last laugh.
Great. All right. Did you go to A school?
No.
Okay. Now, after boot camp, did you get your orders for the New Jersey?
Yes. I was the only person in my company that came to it.
And what was your immediate reaction to seeing that?
I didn't know anything about the New Jersey. I didn't really catch a hold of what it was until I had that break between boot camp and hitting it. And then I found out that my grandfather worked on all the equipment in the engine rooms and built that at Westinghouse.
Right.
So, kind of started tying in there, which was kind of cool.
Okay, now, first time you start to approach the New Jersey, you could say how you did it on land or by boat, but what was your reaction seeing it?
I was taken aback because of the size. It was bigger than anything that I had ever seen. It wasn't like a cruise ship or anything like that. It was just, it took me aback a little bit. When I first came on, I was worried about, getting lost. I was never worried about that, changing schools or anything like that. But, coming to the ship, Yeah, I had no idea where anything was, and it just seemed immense.
Mm-hmm.
So I was taken back by the size. It looked powerful. So there was a certain amount of awe with that. But it's just, I don't know, it seemed to me like a force to be reckoned with type of deal. It's kind of awestruck.
Okay. Just for now, just some stories about everyday life on board. You have anything to share? How was it? Food or just accommodations? How did that go?
Food was good. The accommodations were good. I was part of the engineering group. I was a machinist mate. We had enough people on board to where when we were underway and we were steaming, we ran 2 crews, 66. So 6 hours on launch, 6 hours off launch, and you pretty much worked and slept. Or worked, ate, and slept, whatever you could squeeze in those couple hours, because 6 hours later you were going back on launch.
Mm-hmm.
And that was pretty much the routine throughout my days on the ship. We were always here a day before, start warming everything up so that we could go underway. And we were usually here a day after, cooling everything down before we could split. We went to a lot of great places, did some really cool things. But, a lot of times that even the second day after cooling everything down, you kind of slept.
Mm-hmm.
Just kick back and relax, as much as you could.
Right.
Instead of just running out all the time.
So, any ports of call that might have stood out, or do you have a favorite?
The ones that stand out would be Hawaii, and it would be for the ceremony over the Arizona.
Mm-hmm.
Been there a couple times. Had to do the ceremony and everything like that. That's the one that stands out most, because going there is kind of like going to Gettysburg. You know what I mean? There's a feeling there. So that one stands out to me more than anything else.
Okay. You were mentioning down in the when we were down in your engineering area, you were talking about how you have to monitor the equipment. Yeah, I'm going to let you, because you said something about every now and then you might let it slide a little bit and get your boiler folks a little.
Throttles.
You see where I'm going? Yeah.
Yes, throttles. I was part of Special C and Anchor, so typically when we pulled into port or pulled out of port, I was part of throttles. The other thing was when you have your GQ stations and everything like that, mine was throttles. And when all of those things happen, you do everything by the book that you're supposed to. However, when you're just out, okay, and we're going at different speeds and everything like that, when they called to increase turns or revolutions for the shafts, I have this huge engine in front of me, okay, and all this power. And what I would do is, if we were to increase speed, I would get up to turn. I would try to raise everybody else up to turn, which means that you open the throttles as much as you can, you suck in as much steam as you can, and get going faster than everybody else. The boiler people didn't like it because you could almost pull their boilers offline. You could suck out pretty much all their steam and everything like that, and then they're scrambling. So I'm over here having fun, and I'm making them work to, create more steam that I'm sucking up real fast. Byproduct of that is, since we were an outside screw, if I can get up to speed quicker than everybody else, I can actually steer the ship to the left and make them come back. So typically what happened is, I made a little name for myself from the holes all the way up to the steering decks and everything like that, where they knew when I was on launch.
Now, also you said there's something, you said earlier your grandfather worked on them, and you had a special thing you were looking for on the engines?
The inspection plates, the original ones from Westinghouse. From what I understand, that when these things went through Westinghouse and they were built by my grandfather's crew and their lines and everything like that. Now, before they left Westinghouse and they had the brass plaques that you see on the reduction gears, if somebody were to take them off and flip them over, my grandfather's name and all the shop guys' names should be, I guess, stamped into the back of that.
Mm-hmm.
Or engraved. And from what I understand, there were a couple other places around the engine rooms where these stamps may have occurred. They were probably painted over or insulated, things of that nature. To be honest, I never took one of the Westinghouse plates off.
Right.
Okay. I mean, it just seemed like a good mystery, but I have seen blueprints of this ship, in other places.
Yeah. All right. Were you on board for the very first Tomahawk fire test? First time the ship ever...
I don't know if it was the very first, but I saw one. Okay, I had the opportunity to see one, and I knew that it was chased by 2 planes.
Right.
Okay.
Okay.
Yeah, like I said, I don't know if it was the first, but I was explaining that when we came up. What I saw were, say, 2 Navy planes. Besides the fact they buzzed the ship, which was cool. They went out almost to the horizon, turned around and came back. And then, as the Tomahawk was taking off, or coming out of the planes were ripping across the ship, trying to keep up with it. And it was only a matter of seconds before it seemed like everything was out of sight. What I remember from that is I walked from the deck down to End Division berthing. I might have grabbed a snack or something on the way. And by the time I got downstairs to join in the game of spades, the Tomahawk landed where it was supposed to be.
So successful.
Yeah, it was successful, and it seemed to be like a very short period of time.
Any witnessing of like the testing of the Sea Whizzes or other weapons systems? The big guns?
The Sea Whizzes I saw go after a couple missiles, and they were successful. I believe there may have been a plane in there. I did not see that, but I have seen the Sea Whizzes go off and knock missiles down. I mean, it was pretty impressive. They seemed to go through a lot of rounds real quick.
Right. Now, you were on the board for the deployment to Lebanon.
Yes.
When did you? Do you remember kind of when you found out what was happening, or were you guys left kind of in the dark at the moment for security?
Steak and lobster.
Oh, okay.
I just remember steak and lobster. A lot of times, at least from my perspective, when we were underway, it really didn't matter where. Okay, my life was in that engine room.
Right.
So I was concerned with what was going on there, and it really didn't matter what was going on anywhere else. Our job was to make sure that our engine room and our shaft alley and everything was running the way they were supposed to be, and that's what I remember.
And for the time being, when the New Jersey was kind of making like a circular motion, what was your average speed? Yeah, what was it called again?
We were cutting circles?
Yeah. What was your average speed? And what was that like?
I don't know what the average speed was. I don't remember.
That's okay.
It was hot. Okay, it's hot, it's loud.
Mm-hmm.
It was hot and loud. That's what I remember.
Okay. No, that's fine.
And I'm trying to be accurate. There's, I remember different conversations or whatever, but primarily, we were all 6 and 6. We were all tired.
Mm-hmm.
We didn't get harassed too much, really harassed, but for not shaving or not having a full-length T-shirt on.
Right.
Because it was hot and we were tired and we worked.
Mm-hmm.
And, and everything worked the way that it should. And that was it.
Okay. Now, when the guns fired, how much of the vibration did you feel down in your engineering area?
Felt a good bit of it.
Mhm.
I wouldn't say, earthquake, but you could feel it shake. And there were times where, if we had, hand wheels or something like that hanging on the wall, that it would knock them off. Since pretty much everybody had headsets on for, hearing protection and things like that, you heard it above the roar of the engine room itself, but it was just it wasn't. I'm sure if you were right under it or in berthing or something like that, you would hear and feel it a whole lot more than what I experienced.
All right. Now, during your time, you actually earned, is it called the Navy accommodation?
There was accommodation for underway repairs.
Go ahead and elaborate on that, please.
The shafts sit on what are known as spring bearings, which is basically a two-part bearing with babbitt in the middle. And they come through with a certain thickness, just a standard thickness, and they store some on the ship at the time. And what happens is you have to shave those down. They're shaved down by the thousands at a time, okay? But your hands shave those. Okay, it's not like a machine can do it. They weigh about a ton. And so what happened was we lost a bearing. The bearing wouldn't hold the oil. There's a thin coat of oil that keeps the shaft from floating because, it keeps it floating. They move, they twist. Okay, I mean it's a long shaft from 1 inch going all the way out the back of the ship. So anyway, we lost the spring bearing, and underway, I don't know how I got this job, but apparently I was the only one that did it correctly. So for hours, I'm sitting here scraping this bearing and blowing it and scraping and blowing it and trying it on and blowing it and scraping and everything like that. Make a an already long story short, we got it shaved down, put in. Still underway to where we were going, and there was no disruption at all, other than dragging that shaft for a little bit. Now, when we got back to port, a few months later, the engineers, we had other engineers that came in, looked at the bearing, they said, this is the way that it's supposed to be, and that bearing lasted the rest of my time on the ship. So, probably 3.5 years. Might still be down there now.
Very possible. It's very possible.
But the accommodation was this paraphrasing. A repair like this is hard enough to do in port, let alone underway. By I think I was like E2 or E3 at the time. By a new person on the ship. So it was kind of cool.
Wow, that's great.
Yeah.
All right. You were probably down in engineering when the ship went through the Panama Canal.
Yep.
How does that handle from all the way down there? Because the Panama Canal, you got the locks, and you're really not steaming. I mean, what did you guys do down there while
you couldn't push her. We went through under our own power. You couldn't push or pull. We just slowly, open it up, all a little bit. Back it down. I mean, you're constantly going, I don't want to say constantly, but you're going between forward and reverse throttles, okay, because you only want so much speed for so long. Okay, so you need to be able to stop your shaft, as quickly as you can start it, maybe a little quicker. From what I understand, we didn't touch anything going through either.
Wow.
That's what I understand. That's what we were told.
Right. Just for record, the Panama Canal is 110 feet wide. At our beam, the Battleship is 183 inches. So you're squeezing. That's pretty impressive.
They also said we went through with a cruise ship next to us. I didn't see that either. It probably would have been nice.
Now, did you ever cross the equator? Did you go through any of those ceremonies?
Yes. Went across when I first got here. which was kind of good because there was only a few hundred shell backs, rather than people that came here after me. You know, when they went back, there was a whole lot of shell backs. It was interesting. It was fun. I have my card packed away. I know I'm supposed to carry it. I don't want myself packed away, but yeah, it was interesting. We got to swim. I was kind of hoping to swim. Because a lot of times when you go down there, you know, if you're not going someplace, you can kind of grab a day, maybe go swim on the equator. At least I've heard that from other ships.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. I didn't know.
Any other stories or anything from your time on the battleship you like to share?
Looking back, it was great. You know, the ship was clean. I mean, a lot of, I know when we cleaned our compartments every day and waxing floors and everything, I don't have any complaints about this ship at all. I mean, it was good.
You did mention you had a friendly rivalry with the other Iowas.
Yes.
Anything you'd like to mention of that?
Well, they all can't be on great ships.
Mm-hmm.
No, Missouri guys, we spent time with those guys because they were in the shipyards in Long Beach, and I remember when they were working on their ship and learning how to stand their watches and learning, you know, about their ships. We would have some of their guys on our ship and, you know, kind of teach them.
Mm-hmm.
You know, it was nice. We gave them. Sometimes when the Naval Reserves would come on, that would get a little interesting at times.
Yeah, that was actually one of my next questions. During the Lebanon deployment, I believe the Navy had one of the largest call-ups of reserves to give you guys a break. Was there a kind of like an inside joke where everybody was saying, how do you spell relief? IOWA? Because you're waiting for the Iowa?
You're waiting for the Iowa, yeah. That, there again, when we were over there, okay, I never got an early flight, so it was just, you know, you're just working.
Mm-hmm.
And that's all I remember.
Did you ever get to meet Captain Milligan by chance?
I did.
Okay. And what was he like?
For a few minutes that I got to meet him, he was all right.
Okay, that's good.
Yes. I would like to. Yeah. I don't want to spend a whole lot of time standing in front of him because chances are I wasn't doing something right. He came down, you know, through the holes and everything like that. So yeah, he was all right. We used to take care of our #1 shaft alley, and you know, I believe he took other captains down to show them our shaft alleys.
Great.
I believe.
Were you able to watch the Bob Hope show that was on board Christmas Eve '83? Okay. Now, we're coming to the end of your time on the New Jersey. Did you serve anywhere else after the New Jersey before you got out of the Navy?
No. I was only on the ship.
On the ship. And then,
on the ship.
So what year did you get out again?
87.
87. All right. After the Navy, tell us a little bit about your life.
Went to work at DuPont. There for 15 years. Sold that. Left DuPont. Started a business working on golf courses and sports fields.
Mm-hmm.
Sold that and went back into safety and health, and now I'm working in refineries.
Okay. What was the influence? How did the Navy influence your life after you got out?
Sense of responsibility. I mean, being responsible. You know, if you say you're going to do something, you do it. You know, you're where you're supposed to be doing what you're supposed to do. You know, when you're supposed to be doing it. I mean, you know, I think everybody should go into the service. Does not matter the branch. I think it gives a good foundation. Okay, and it sets a good example for how to conduct the rest of your life. Like I said, my time was good. I remember one other story when I was living, because I believe Wisconsin was in Corpus Christi, Texas. At the time I was getting out, they was in the shipyard down there, and everybody was talking to us about, hey, you should re up and go down there, because it's primarily like shore duty or whatever. I remember that conversation. But I think whether it's the Navy or any other branch of the service, it gives you a good foundation.
Now, is this the first time you've been back to New Jersey since you left the Navy?
First time I've been on it, yeah.
Okay, so you're walking up the pier. What's your reaction?
Proud, actually. Really proud of this ship. I was coming up with some friends, so I was explaining the sea whizzes and tomahawk decks and things like that. So I was walking up, explaining what the E was and different accommodations that the ship has. So yeah, it felt pretty good.
Now, the young man that was with you, that's your son?
Grandson.
Grandson. How was that, having him walk around with you in your old workspace?
I think it was cool. Because right there, if you include my father, you're talking 4 generations of a family that was in the same space. Okay. One of my thoughts with bringing him here today is maybe to inspire him to volunteer when he's of age.
Go in the Navy too?
Yeah.
There you go.
Yeah, like I said, my whole family's Marines. Okay, so I mean, no disrespect or anything like that. Whether it's Marines or Navy or any branch. Like I said, I think everybody should, do something.
All right. Any other stories or anything you'd like to share from your time in or after? Anything you'd like?
I think I'm pretty good. I think that should be good for history. The rest of it will get me in trouble.
Well, no one else will know for a while, no matter what happens. All right. I am here with Hugh Sung. You have any questions?
No.
None whatsoever?
No,
All right. Well, again, welcome home. And I'm glad you enjoyed your time. Actually, you still have to find your rack. You're going to let your grandson climb into there? All right.
Yeah, I didn't even think about that.
Yeah.
Then I guess that's what you get into. The friend that's with us.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, we brought another friend with us today, and his grandson. They came for a Cub Scout deal, and they spent the night. And when he came back, and he was all excited. He was telling me about it. And he was telling me about where he slept and everything like that. And what he described was my rack.
Mm-hmm.
So we had this little thing.
Gonna find out if it was.
Gotta find out. I really didn't want to sleep with him.
That would be kind of cool if it was yours.
Oh, that would be real cool. I'm kind of anticipating this next part.
Okay, great. Well, again, thank you for your service, taking time to join us. This will conclude our interview.